finance chief predicts real reason EU are desperate to extend Brexit negotiations. Speaking to Bloomberg, the chief economist of Panmure Gordon argued an extension of the Brexit negotiations would help the European Union show other member states the complex process would not be worth the hassle. Mr. French claimed the extension would also serve the UK in remedying the lack of preparedness for a no-deal scenario or for the relationship between the UK and the EU during the transition period, given the delays caused from recent clashes in the Tory party over Brexit. The finance expert said, "What you see going forward in the Brexit negotiations is whether actually, that timeline of March 2019 is now tenable given we were expecting a deal in June. We're now talking about October. The amendment we were talking about may give Parliament a vote in February. That is getting so close to the deadline that maybe there will be an extension of Article 50. Any time extension will make a material difference given the lack of preparedness for either a cliff edge or indeed the transition period potentially running from March 2019 to December 2020. What's interesting about this is if you think of it through the eyes of the European Union and the European Commission, it's not unhelpful for them to say look how difficult it is to go through the Article 50 process. If that must be extended because it is such a fraught process that sends quite a strong message to other separatist movements. If you're worried about contagion, it's not the most difficult concession for the European Commission to offer. European Commission officials are said to be pushing for the optional clause to the transition period to protect the bloc's interests and allow it more leeway. They are reportedly biding their time and planning to introduce the extension later on in negotiations when the UK may be more willing to accept it. If the withdrawal agreement was changed, and the government took up the extension, it could tie Britain to the EU until summer 2021. During the transition, the UK will continue to be bound by the bloc's rules but have no say in any new regulations which are imposed. EU negotiators have previously said the transition will end by December 31, 2020. But two Brussels sources told The Independent the EU is now pushing for the change to protect its own interests. One said, "Of course they are aware of the sensitivity around the issue in London, but it is about giving the Commission more leeway if needed, at the end of the transition to get things in place." A second said an optional extension was needed as a safety precaution because of the uncertainty surrounding the British position on the split.